Yo, Zach Bradshaw, Greensboro SEO Pro, back with a bite-sized WordPress tutorial. So in this video, I'm going to talk about widget areas within WordPress, just really quickly talking about how to adjust the footer or the sidebars or whatever else your theme actually allows you to adjust within your widget areas. And it's basically at the request of a client. I made a recommendation to him. He said, "What the heck do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I guess I can make you a video about it." And he said, "Please do." And then I decided, well, I could just do it for you and then make a video out of it and release that video publicly. So that's what this is. Just really quickly, widgets are a kind of a fundamental piece of WordPress that are somewhat being phased out, but they're the most useful and generally the default way to create your footers within WordPress. Now, any given theme is going to have different boxes within here. You can see a flash of a different theme over here, but Divi specifically is the theme that we're using here, and it has a lot of front end options within the customizer that you can adjust your footer layout. Now, this client originally, they're doing all this stuff themselves, and I'm kind of just coaching them on how to do certain things and then, you know, working some of the off-page stuff for them. So he's already created, using Divi, one of these cool global elements that you can use for a footer within Divi, but it creates several problems just for him down the road, as he's kind of a WordPress novice. He's getting pretty good at Divi, but there's various things. If you want to use a global footer within Divi's thing, you need to basically make a child theme, and that would push our scope up, you know, with us, and it would just make it more difficult in the long run for him to be able to adjust his widget areas and make sure that it's showing across every single page on his website, right? That's the main thing, is making sure that it's showing on pages that Divi doesn't have a built-in Divi builder for, or whatever the case may be. Now, his widget or his footer already looks pretty good. I'm gonna change a couple of things on it, and as a matter of fact, I already have. I've built a new footer for him within WordPress, and there's obviously some things I'm going to add in here and make it look a little bit better than it does. There's obviously some things that are lost. So by default, the widget that I used for his social media looks better than this widget here. It's not even set up, so you don't have his actual number of followers set up in here, but you know, he may want to adjust this. There's a lot you can do with this specific widget. This over here, this is a better formatting for your NAP, just for SEO. This is better than what's going on here, even though we might throw a map on top of this or add some little, make this even look better than it does. And he does lose his backdrop, his box shadow that was going around his photo here, just because we would have to code that in, and that's kind of defeats some of the purpose. One of the advantages, another advantage of using one of these footers is that it's a cleaner code. So on pages like his blog posts or whatever else where he might not necessarily want to use the Divi builder, this will load faster than this, essentially, and will load with less code. So this one has a bunch of div tags and stuff, and this one has less. It's like the default WordPress thing, and it was going to be on the page anyway. So within Divi itself, you come to the customizer and you can adjust the layout of this widget area. So I could turn this into a, let's make it a 5 across, right? And that has cut these down. They have all different shapes and sizes, where now this one is wide and then skinny, right? So there's lots of different things you can do within this one, but I'm just replicating what he's got up here for now, and maybe there's some things we can change later. So just to get it black like how he has it, come down here, and now this thing, well, now it's black. Now I might come to the bottom bar, and where is my bottom bar color? Let's actually, I need to like white it. Let's do it like that much. And now that's kind of the opposite of how it was. Now, there's some other things within these widgets. This will let you adjust these styles. So, for example, if I want to make the body text larger, this will do it right in there within Divi. I can make it all bold if I wanted to, or whatever else. This is how I adjust these colors within these different things. Now, for some of these, this is like, for example, the header font. This is only going to adjust your H1, right? So this is a H3, what I used here for his name, and so I'm going to just have to hard code that with some CSS on the other side, and that's something that I'll do. Now, you can also, I think the last thing in here is this footer menu, and you can also style the footer menu through this, but I would just recommend you never use footer menus because they're crap. They always look bad, and you're better off doing what I'm going to do in just a moment, which is just throw a line down here and then have a link list of the pages that are most important to link to on this website. So by default, this Monarch widget was prettier than what was going on here, just like Divi's social thing or whatever. This doesn't look quite as good because it doesn't have the backdrop, and this is, you know, just text, so whatever. So you will lose some functionality because Divi has accordions and all types of crazy stuff you could throw in here, but for the most part you get a wide selection of things. So just by having the text editor, you know what I mean, you can add images within the text editor even. You could even hard code a YouTube video, really any iframe embed that you wanted to right here. You could just code into this text or into the custom HTML widget would probably be a even better place for that. By default, most of these are going to have most WordPress themes are going to have things like archives, calendar, categories, maybe image, I'm not sure. Certainly text, custom HTML, recent posts, recent comments, probably a search, probably a tag cloud, maybe a RSS feed, but you know, this is from my hosting company. They added a widget in here powered by WP Engine, and then Elegant Themes, which is the makers of Divi. They've also added some extra widgets in here, like in Elegant Themes About Me, and a couple of basically advertisement widgets that are, you know, work best with their theme. Now, Bloom is a newsletter plugin that I've added to their site, and so it's added a widget in here, and then Monarch, which is the social media plugin I use, has added this Monarch follow widget, which by default I didn't even have to format anything for this, and it just dropped looking all pretty like. Now when you're using different elements that are being adjusted via plugins or via other controls, you may have to do the styling for an individual element like this elsewhere, right? So I have to adjust that plugin via this the Monarch settings within WordPress. So this is where I can add all these networks. There's a ton of networks you can add. I can change the look of the widget, so changing the icon shapes, doing different animation styles, all types of stuff. You see there's lots more options in here, and there's a variety of ways you can use shortcodes or other, well, all types of stuff with this widget, and that's, or with this plugin, and that's why I use it. Right now, based on what you want in your footer or in your sidebars, you may want to add a plugin or two to WordPress, but if you can code it yourself, you might as well do that. Now aside from that, again, any given plugin is going to have its different widget areas. Divi has 6 footer areas and a sidebar area. This other theme, which is Flocks, that is kind of like a part of Elementor. I'm not quite sure how these work together, but I think Elementor is in this case just being used as a plugin with the Flocks theme supporting it. And you see that these in combination only have 4 what they're calling subfooter widget areas, but they also have a bar widget area, meaning they'll put like a horizontal bar over top of your widget, section over top of your footer. And it, you know, that's a nice little thing. They also have a search result, so if you were to do a search on this site, you're able to adjust the what comes up in the sidebar beside that search result. Same for your primary blog post, and I think you can add obviously a second widget area for that. You can also enable widget areas on your pages, and I don't even know what this global primary widget area is. So there's lots of things here, and you see within this theme, the widget things we have over here is an accordion, before and after slider. What are some other, this code, I'm not sure what that is, a divider, a gallery which looks different. This Google Maps widget is added via a plugin, the latest post slider. There's lots of different things in here, and some of these could be added by all different plugins that this specific website has enabled for it. So just an example of one of those areas. So in this case, this is his blog post, and for now we only have a search bar enabled as the only sidebar widget within these pages. Now, what I've advised him to do on these specific pages, because he has created a somewhat dynamic layout for them, he wanted to use his header and stuff like that on them, so he can come into these individual pages and really quickly make this a full width area and not have to worry about this sidebar, and that's part of why I left it as is. On some other category pages, it would make sense to instead have that sidebar when there's only going to be a featured image and maybe an excerpt of text. Now, that's a little bit too nuanced. We don't need a deep dive on that. Hopefully this gave you a good understanding of how these widget areas work, and also gave you some things to think about what theme you're using, what plugins you use with that theme in order to adjust this footer how you want it. So if you found this video useful, I guess you can go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to. If not, you could leave a comment below telling me how bad it sucks or asking a question that I may need to clarify. Besides that, you know, if you need SEO, I'm here to serve you. If not, that's cool too. And until next time, I love you. Peace.